Our story begins in an ancient North Africa that no longer exists on any map. The land is hot and wind-scoured, but it is not a desert in the way we picture one today. This is a world shaped by water. Broad river channels braid through low plains. Flooded backwaters open into marshes. Sandbars rise and vanish with the seasons. The air carries the damp, metallic smell of silt and living things. In the shallows, fish move like dark shadows under the surface. On the banks, tracks crisscross in soft mud, telling the same truth again and again. Here, life follows the river. And in this river country, one predator stands apart from every other giant hunter the fossil record has given us. Its silhouette is unmistakable. A long, narrow head like a crocodile's. Teeth that look less like knives and more like polished spikes. A strange ridge of towering spines rising from its back, forming what people call a sail. This is Spinosaurus, a dinosaur that keeps forcing scientists to rethink the rules of what a large carnivore could be. Spinosaurus is famous, but it is also frustrating. Its story is not one clean discovery, carefully preserved and studied from the start. It is a story with missing pages. Early remains were described from Egypt, and then those original fossils were lost during the chaos of the 20th century. For decades, the animal existed mostly as a ghost in scientific literature, a name attached to scattered bones and isolated teeth. Then, in more recent years, new fossils from Morocco and nearby regions added pieces back into the puzzle. With every new piece came a new reconstruction, and with every reconstruction came new arguments. Spinosaurus is not just a dinosaur, it is an ongoing investigation. To understand why this animal is so controversial, you have to start with its face. Most big meat-eating dinosaurs are built for cutting and tearing. Their skulls are deep and powerfully braced. Their teeth are often flattened like blades, serrated for slicing through flesh. Spinosaurus breaks that pattern. Its snout is stretched out and narrow, and its teeth are more conical, designed to grip rather than slice. That kind of equipment makes sense when the main target is slippery, twisting prey. Fish don't give you a clean bite. They explode into motion the instant they feel pressure. To catch them, you need speed, reach, and a mouth that can clamp down and hold on. Even the placement of the nostrils hints at a life spent near water. Instead of opening right near the tip of the snout, the nostrils sit farther back. It is a small detail, but in animals that feed at the waterline, details like that matter. A long snout can probe the surface while the animal still breathes easily. It is one of several traits that push Spinosaurus away from the image of a land-based sprinter and towards something more tied to rivers and wetlands. Now look at the back. Those tall spines are not a decoration added by artists. They are real bone. Extensions of the vertebrae that rise dramatically above the spine line. In life, they supported some kind of structure, likely skin and soft tissue, creating the iconic sail. But the sail's purpose is still debated. It could have been for display, a billboard that helped individuals recognize each other from a distance. It could have played a role in temperature control, helping the animal absorb heat in the morning or shed it later in the day. Or it may have done several jobs at once. In biology, the same structure can serve multiple purposes, and the fossil record rarely gives us a single clear answer. But the biggest argument is not about the sail. It is about the rest of the body. Spinosaurus does not match the standard blueprint of giant theropods that dominate popular imagination. Traditional predators like Tyrannosaurus are defined by long, muscular hind limbs built for strong movement on land. Spinosaurus has been reconstructed with hind limbs that appear comparatively reduced, with proportions that raise questions about how it moved. That single issue ripples outward into everything else: how it hunted, how it traveled, and whether it could have spent significant time in water. The heart of the debate comes down to one haunting question. Was Spinosaurus simply a shoreline hunter, wading in the shallows, snatching fish like a giant heron with teeth? Or was it something bolder, a truly semi-aquatic dinosaur, built to swim with purpose? In recent years, one feature has become central to that conversation. Fossils have revealed a tail with unusually tall spines and a shape that, in cross-section, appears more like a paddle than the stiff counterbalance tail seen in many other theropods. Researchers have used models to test how such a tail might move water, and their results suggest it could generate meaningful thrust. That finding was dramatic, because it offered something more concrete than speculation. It was an attempt to measure function, not just describe form. And yet, even that is not the end of the story. Other scientists have challenged how far those conclusions should go. A tail that can help in water does not automatically make an animal a specialist diver. A body can be adapted for wading and occasional swimming without living like a crocodile. The difference between capable and committed is enormous in evolution. Many animals are capable of swimming. Far fewer are shaped by water in every aspect of their lives. So the most careful way to describe Spinosaurus is not as a monster of the deep, but as a predator that lived at the boundary where land and water meet. A hunter of river corridors. A giant that may have relied on fish as a major food source, competing in a world where food webs were crowded and dangerous. Because this region, preserved today in rock layers like the Kem beds of Morocco, was not a quiet place. It was a heavy ecosystem, packed with large animals, including other predators. If you only count species, it can look almost impossible, as if there were too many big hunters sharing the same landscape. But nature finds ways to divide opportunity. One predator focuses on land prey, another works the water's edge, another specializes in different sizes of animals, different habitats, different times of day. Spinosaurus may have been the answer to a very specific niche, a giant carnivore that took control of the waterways themselves. Picture the river at midday. The sun is harsh. The water is opaque with suspended silt. Beneath the surface, large fish drift in the current, their bodies built for sudden bursts of speed. Along the bank, a massive shape stands nearly motionless, its sail breaking the line of the horizon like a moving ridge. It lowers its snout toward the water, not with the slow patience of a reptile basking, but with the precision of an ambush hunter waiting for a single mistake. A flash, a ripple, then the strike. Jaws snap shut, teeth locking in. The prey thrashes, but the mouth is built to hold, not to let go. The river swallows the sound and carries the story downstream. Spinosaurus is not just a creature to marvel at. It is a reminder of how incomplete our view of the past really is. Every bone we find is a fragment of behavior, a clue to a life we can never watch directly. And with Spinosaurus, the clues do not line up neatly. They challenge each other. They force new experiments, new reconstructions, new debates. In the next part of our story, we move deeper into that debate. We'll follow the evidence piece by piece, from the shape of the bones to the chemistry of ancient water systems, and we'll ask what it really means for a dinosaur to be semi-aquatic. Because for Spinosaurus, the answer is not just a label, it is the key to understanding how one of the strangest predators in Earth's history actually lived. The most revealing part of the Spinosaurus story is not a single bone, but the way different kinds of evidence are forced to share the same frame. Paleontology is often treated like simple reconstruction, but in reality it is closer to forensics. Bones tell you what an animal could do, sediments tell you where it lived, and chemistry, locked into fossils and surrounding rock, can hint at how often it moved through fresh water versus dry ground. Start with the landscape itself. The rocks that preserve Spinosaurus are tied to river systems that carried heavy loads of sand and mud. building wide floodplains and shifting channels. These settings are not like open ocean. They are shallow, unpredictable environments where water can be knee-deep one season and spread into broad wetlands the next. A large predator in this world does not need to be a deep diver. It needs to be comfortable at the edge, where prey is concentrated and visibility is poor. That matters because semi-aquatic can mean very different things. In modern ecosystems, some animals are built to live in water almost entirely. Others simply use water as a hunting ground, entering and leaving it constantly. The bones of Spinosaurus suggest something in between. Its overall design points toward a life shaped by rivers, but not necessarily a life trapped in them. One line of investigation focuses on weight and balance. On land, a giant carnivore has to support its mass efficiently. In water, buoyancy changes the rules. A body that feels heavy on shore can become easier to move once it is partially supported by water. That is why the question of limb proportions matters so much. If the hind limbs were less optimized for long-distance running, that does not automatically make the animal slow or helpless. It may simply mean it did not need to travel the way other big theropods did. A predator that patrols river corridors can rely on ambush, short pursuits, and opportunistic feeding, instead of crossing open ground at speed. Researchers also look at bone structure. In some water-associated animals, bones become denser, acting like ballast to reduce unwanted floating. In other cases, bones stay lighter to conserve energy. The tricky part is that fossil bones can change over time, and density patterns can vary across the skeleton. So even when scanning reveals differences, interpretation is careful work. The goal is not to force Spinosaurus into a modern category, but to understand how its anatomy managed the basic trade-offs between stability in water and mobility on land. Then there is the tail, the feature that sparked headlines and argument in equal measure. A tail shaped to push water effectively is a powerful clue, but it has limits. Thrust is only one piece of swimming. Control, endurance, and body posture matter just as much. A tail can help an animal move through water, yet the same animal may still prefer shallow channels where it can touch bottom. In muddy rivers, wading can be more efficient than full swimming, especially for a heavy-bodied predator. The most likely picture is not an animal cruising like a shark, but one using water as both highway and hunting blind, switching between walking, wading, and short bursts of swimming depending on depth and current. Evidence from teeth and feeding wear adds another layer. Spinosaurus teeth are not built for slicing through thick hide and crushing bone the way some land hunters' teeth are. Their shape favors holding and resisting twisting forces, exactly what happens when a struggling fish fights to break free. And the snout, long and narrow, gives reach into the water column. It reduces drag during a strike and extends the bite zone forward, increasing the chance of contact in murky water where prey can vanish in an instant. But Spinosaurus did not live alone. In those same river basin deposits, fossils show an ecosystem crowded with large predators. That apparent overload is not a mistake of nature. It is a reminder that predator is not a single job. Different hunters can share a region by targeting different prey, different habitats, or different moments in a daily cycle. Spinosaurus, with its river-adapted skull and possible water-friendly body plan, fits the role of a specialist that worked the edges and channels while other carnivores leaned harder on terrestrial prey. This is where the chemistry of ancient life becomes especially valuable. In some studies, researchers analyze isotopes preserved in teeth and bones to infer how much an animal interacted with aquatic environments. Water chemistry leaves signatures, and those signatures can differ between animals that drink from rivers and those that spend much of their time in them. The results are not always simple, and they do not settle every argument, but they push the conversation beyond appearance and into measurable traces of ecology. At the end of the day, Spinosaurus refuses to be reduced to a single slogan. It was not just the dinosaur with a sail. It was not just the dinosaur that could swim. It was a river predator built around a particular kind of opportunity: abundant fish, shifting channels, and the advantage of hunting where other giants were less at home. And there is one more reason this animal stays in the spotlight. Every new discovery has the potential to reshape the entire reconstruction. A revised pelvis changes posture. A better tail changes hydrodynamics. A new limb bone changes locomotion. With Spinosaurus, the picture is always one fossil away from shifting. That is the real drama of this species. It is not only the creature itself, but the process of science unfolding around it. New data, competing models, careful tests, and the steady narrowing of uncertainty. In a world that wants quick answers, Spinosaurus teaches a different lesson. The past is not something we simply uncover. It is something we rebuild, piece by piece, and revise as the evidence grows.